No game is perfect, but honestly, it's been 40 or 50 years since games began, so at this point, you should really try a little bit better to at least avoid the basic mistakes that everybody seems to make, even though it's constantly being pointed out that these are mistakes and you should stop making them. And these are, indeed, the top 7 gaming design mistakes that everyone makes. Things you'll find in pretty much every game that we repeatedly said, not just me, but everyone for the past 40 years, that they're not good. They don't really work, do they? You could just tweak things a bit and, shuffle them off to Buffalo. What I'm saying is, stop doing these. They're not what you would call crimes. Like, I won't form a secret cabal to take over the world with the express intent of making bad game design decisions be punishable by jail. These ones, I mean. The other ones from last month, yeah, absolutely. But they still are kind of annoying. And you should really stop with them, please. That being said, let's get it started with number 7. Instant slowdown from encumbrance. You know the meme, right? The Skyrim meme, where you're carrying 50 bajillion dragon bones and you're running around and sprinting and jumping. You pick up the wings of a butterfly and suddenly you cannot run anymore at all. It's the straw that broke the camel's back. Here's the thing. Your character's back isn't actually broken, you just can't run now for some reason. The reason isn't the wings of a butterfly because their weight is unsubstantial. The reason is that encumbrance in video games is badly made, and most of them. The majority of them, you know how they work. You have a certain encumbrance limit. Once you reach that limit, you can't fast travel, you can't run, you can't do anything. Up until that limit, like within a decimal point of that limit, you can be as limber and as athletic and as acrobatic as you want. An easy way to fix this would be a gradual encumbrance. Just slow the character progressively to the point where it doesn't seem like such a far-fetched idea that, maybe I am carrying too many things that have been slowing me down gradually over the past couple of hours. Maybe I should get rid of them. Instead of, bam, just having one cutoff point. It's just annoying when games do this, and they do it quite often. That basically being the reason why, if a game does have encumbrance in it, I know it'll usually be the wrong kind, so I just cheat. And I'm not the only one. That's why no encumbrance mods exist for pretty much every game out there. Number 6. Making 3D games in 2D. As Mr. Spock would have said, game developers exhibit two-dimensional thinking, even though often they are making 3D games. This has, in a way, been a lesser of an issue in the last couple of years, but you do still see it being a factor, quite an annoying factor, quite often. The idea is that you will have a game with a 3D level, a 3D game with a 3D level that has slopes and angles, and you can go above and below and climb and go down and go up and to the side, and you're pretty much, in quotation marks, free to go anywhere. Well, you're not free actually, you can only go on a set path, and when you try to diverge from that path, because you thought, oh, there's a crate in front of me, I can jump on top of it, and then on top of the crate on top of that, and then I'm gonna get to the roof of that building, and that will let me just circumvent half the level because, I'm a smart person, I want to play a sneaky character, Alpha Protocol. Only to find out that no, you can't actually do that. You can't even drop down from certain places that you could drop down from safely without even spraining an ankle. And all this because the game, even though it looks 3D, it's actually 2D. It was thought up on a piece of paper without any depth to it. It's all planned out as if it were about as three-dimensional as Doom. Probably less so actually, now that I think about it. And the fact that the game gives you the impression of being 3D, that it allures you with the possibility of you having the capability of traversing the environment in the third dimension, is annoying as hell when you figure out that no, you can't. It's just there for show. It's basically pointless. You've wasted resources making a 3D game when you could have made a 2D one. At the same time, I've seen 2D games with more 3D-ness to them than some 3D ones. Wasteland comes to mind. The first one. Number 5. Limited stamina for no reason. Now, some games have a perfectly valid reason for there being limited stamina. The Severance-like genre does it because stamina is intrinsically tied to your attack. I mean, where would Dark Souls be if you could attack infinitely? It wouldn't have the same tactical edge to it, would it? No, it wouldn't. It would be a lesser experience it's not as fulfilling as what it is now. But why does Call of Duty have it? Why does Grand Theft Auto have it? Why do games where you're quite often playing people that are presumably highly trained super soldiers spread in a tank and a vat somewhere that can take 50 bullets to the face and just have some eye bleeding and then regenerate quickly, why do they get tired after running for 15 seconds, not even 15 seconds. I genuinely can run more than that and I am not in a good shape. I know I ran a race last year, but it was last year and it's been cold outside and there's no predators that will eat me alive because I can't run fast enough, but I can still run for more than 15 seconds. And in these games, stamina usually plays absolutely no other role. It doesn't affect the way you handle your weapons, doesn't affect the way that you resist bullet impacts, doesn't affect your health, doesn't affect anything other than you not being able to run for more than 15 seconds. It's a really dumb limitation, mostly there because, gonna not be honest, the levels in some of those games, the Call of Duty ones I mean, ain't that great. So the faster you move through them, the more you can see that, oh, it's not that much to it, is it? But in Grand Theft Auto, that's just even more perplexing. Sure, they added a RPG-ish system that increases your stamina with grind for no reason other than it being there, but it's been in the series since Grand Theft Auto 3 and there you had no ways of increasing it, so it's still pointless. So try to avoid it. Number 4. Quicktime events. As a fundamental rule, quicktime events are not gameplay. They can have their place. If your name is Platinum Games, you know how to use them for good effect. You know how to slap them in the middle of a pitch battle to make it even more fanatical and more intense. If your name is CD Projekt, don't do it again. Really, don't do it again. Quicktime events should not be substituted for actual combat, for actually engaging an enemy, for a boss battle that's basically a repeat of the same battle we had like 2 hours ago that was so simple and so repetitive and so lackluster that you still somehow felt the need to write about how to beat it in the strategy guide. Mr. The Order 1860, I forgot your name already. As I said, they do have their place. Quicktime events, when used correctly, can be very, very impactful. The first time, maybe the second time if it's in a different enough context. By the third time, you're kind of pushing it. Fourth and fifth, again, unless you're Platinum Games, you are on the brink. Sixth, I'm not installing this thing. Seventh, I'm starting to cabal. Eighth, oh, we already have black helicopters. Ninth, okay, David, please stop. Just don't put so many of them in Detroit Become Human, okay? Please. Number 3, no fun allowed. There's a trend. This is especially related to first-person shooters where you're kind of not allowed to have fun with weapons, are you? It's a mistake that I've seen a lot of developers make, where they give you a super awesomely amazing weapon and then they take it away from you before you can actually enjoy it. One of the best, and by best I mean hilariously bad examples, was Syndicate. Remember the first person shooter Syndicate? The one that was awful? Well, one of the reasons why it was awful is that you had a rocket launcher in that game that you got from a receptacle at a rocket launcher firing test area. You got to shoot it at some drones and then you had to put it back in another receptacle and you never got to use it again in the entire game. Ever. At all. Zero. No fun allowed here. One of the Crysis games had the same problem. Well, a similar problem. You had the anti-material sniper super advanced rifle that you got from next to the corpse of that guy from Fallout New Vegas. I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm gonna keep this weapon though. Used against boss, they took it away. Like, they took it away before I even fired a shot. Had to contend with fighting the boss in that game with melee attacks. I wasn't a fan of Crysis 2. I'm gonna get to the games ending into that you liked, but I didn't, and they're not that good in a different show. But you will see games often do this. They give you a super duper awesome looking weapon and then not really let you do much with it because they limit ammo, they limit your ability to use it. If you want to see an example of this done right, I mean actually letting you have fun with it, take Doom. When you get the BFG, they point you right at a room filled with zombies and exploding barrels. And you've got plenty of ammo. The fact that they put an autosave point right after the first barrel explodes, so that if you thought to yourself, you know what, I'm gonna keep my ammo and maybe there's a boss there too and I'm gonna kick the boss in the face face with the BFG. Well, there wasn't, so that whole scene was sort of ruined for me. But still, I appreciate the intention. Number 2, mistaking quantity for substance. This is a major mistake that a lot of people make. Just because there's a lot of a game doesn't mean it's good. Just because there's a lot of fetch quests doesn't mean it's good content or that people will enjoy doing them. Just because your game has 15 million items doesn't mean they're all great and people will enjoy collecting them all when, let's face it, 49.999 million of them are useless junk or stuff that's so derivative, so unremarkable that you may as well slap a different name on the same object and increase the stats by plus. Actually, that's what most people do in terms of items anyway. So this is the problem. There is no substance there. There's just spam. You're spamming items, spamming quests, spamming the same types of enemies. Spam, 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 spam. Wonderful spam. Lovely spam. Spam, spam, spam. Number 1, reloading. This is again related to shooter games. Mostly first-person shooters because that's where we actually get to see the stupidity in action. Reloading animations in video games are terrible. The only fun ones you get to see are sometimes the joke ones put in Battlefield. Those at least are humorous and they compensate for the fact that reloading animations in games tend to be awful. They tend to be horrible. And you want to know why? Well, picture this. I'm in the middle of reloading a rifle. Take out the magazine, throw it away, reach down to get another one, to put it in, I clunk it in, and then right as I'm trying to, pull back the bolt thing or something, I'm not familiar with weapons all that much, I have to run. And I run. Okay, running. And now I'm safe. Okay, let's finish that reload animation. Character takes out the full mag, throws it away, grabs another one, puts it back in, and then finishes moving the thing on the gun. To cock it or something. I don't know what it's called. The pin, the thing. For that little bit at the end, you redo the entire animation. And you're not even wasting the bullets that you threw away from the full mag you just inserted into the weapon. That's just awful. It's bad enough when it's done in single player games, and when you do it in multiplayer games it's even worse. It gets annoying. And it's not something difficult, just have animation blending. Something that's been around since forever. Just have the animation, blend into another type of animation, maybe coexist with running, coexist with crouching, put it on pause until the weapon needs to be reused again and then continue it. But don't reset it, because if you do, it's stupid. Always has been, always will be. You can take a page from Dusk where reloading does nothing but twirl your weapons in the air because it's cool. Though that would be a bit unrealistic for games that try to be a bit, closer to reality, to real life, to have that sense of visceral realness where you can throw away an infinite amount of mags that come out of your butthole or somewhere and never actually lose any amount of ammunition. So closes the top 7 game design mistakes that everyone makes. A special mention is awarded to the standard variety of JRPG combat, and please make sure to mention your own game design mistakes in the comments. I'm curious to know what you believe to be the most egregious of them that people just constantly do again and again and again. And again, I like to mention that I'm referring to mistakes, not necessarily crimes, so unskippable cutscenes, those are already a crime. Though I think I may have put QuickTime events in both categories. I just don't like them. Goodbye.